Hisoka vs Chrollo is one of the most interesting fights in manga and is the best display of creativity in a power system within a single fight that I have personally ever seen. It's got all the makings of a great fight and has become synonymous in my brain with the term high-level combat. With this battle being at the highest level, it's only natural that I'd have a lot to say about what happens in it, and I want to break this fight down page by page the best that I can to show how Togashi works when his fights are at their peak. I'm wasting time here, however, so consider leaving a like and subscribing if you like Hunter x Hunter content, and let's get started. The fight spans about 7 chapters and is placed in the middle of nowhere. It would be like if you opened JJK to chapter 200 when it came out and Gojo vs Sukuna was just starting to happen. Except it's a really nice surprise here. None of it feels random, and that's 100% because of the setting. Togashi had already introduced us to Heaven's Arena and the type of opponents in it. For Chrollo to be a floor master of the top floor and Hisoka to make his way that far is all very believable, and we already knew that this fight would happen eventually. Hisoka has been wanting to fight Chrollo for virtually the entire manga, and we almost got this fight at the end of Yorkinu, but got cucked out of it since Chrollo couldn't use an N. That was probably for the best though, as I'll explain in just a second. Chrollo has been aware of Hisoka wanting to fight him since at least that day, and this was over 230 chapters ago that this happened. A lot is being said here without it actually being shown to us. We didn't really need to see either Hisoka or Chrollo make their entire way through Heaven's Arena. All is said by them simply being at the top. Chrollo does go out of his way to especially prepare for this fight, however. It's unknown if he upgraded his skill hunter technique specifically for Hisoka or not, but using this massive upgrade, he stole the skills of 2 other Phantom Troop members to use in this fight with Hisoka, those being Shaunark's Black Voice and Cortopi's Gallery Fake. The 2 of these abilities playing such a crucial role in the fight, as well as Chrollo being prepared for Hisoka, but not in the reverse, has led people to believe Chrollo likely wouldn't have won in either a different setting or without these abilities at hand, which is a fair criticism I'll touch on as we're going through the battle. Now that we're pretty much done with the build-up, we can start with the actual battle. There is no reason to assume that either Hisoka or Chrollo are holding back here in this battle. While they might employ different strategies that involve them taking a step back, they are both going for the finish and immediately declare a death match. Chrollo starts off with Shaunark's Black Voice and immediately takes control of the judge and starts to attack Hisoka with him. Hisoka kicks the judge away easily, but falls for a feint from Chrollo and gets sent to the ground, and Chrollo immediately follows up by stomping Hisoka constantly. This doesn't seem to be phasing Hisoka too much, however, as he blocks all of the kicks and starts trying to figure out Chrollo's game plan. Hisoka's ignorance is important here, as Chrollo is the skill hunter, so even if Hisoka figures out one skill, he can pull out another, effectively changing his game plan entirely or adding a new layer to it. Hisoka reveals he had Bungee Gum, which by the way has the properties of both rubber and gum, attached to the judge and retracts it at max speed. Chrollo avoids it and goes back to using the judge as a shield. Hisoka attacks the judge, thinking he's figured out Chrollo's game plan. When the judge explodes, Hisoka moves out the way, thinking the blood could be bad, and Chrollo reveals yet another one of his abilities, the Sun and Moon Paired Destruction. The mark of the sun is impressed on the left hand and the moon on the right hand. When the marks touch each other, they explode. The marks can be made in an instant, but for maximum effectiveness, contact needs to be made for between 3 to 5 seconds. If it's the lesser instant mark, it results in a small blast. But with the complete bomb, it can blow people to smithereens. Chrollo's words, not mine. This isn't even the most crazy thing about what Chrollo did, however. He used an ability that requires 2 hands because of upgrades he made to Skill Hunter, the double face bookmark theme. This means Chrollo can use 2 abilities at one time, since he can not only hold the book open to a page and use the ability there, but he can have another page bookmarked and use that ability as well. And when it comes to abilities that require 2 hands, leaving the page bookmarked allows for him to use Skill Hunter even while the book is closed, so it fixes that issue. This comes with Chrollo having more annoying conditions, but those are never revealed, and he still says his combat efficiency has improved vastly despite it. Chrollo then reveals he's going to show Hisoka 3 more abilities and that Hisoka is setting a new record for the number of abilities it has taken for him to kill someone. This statement could be used to support the idea that Chrollo would not have won if not for the extra abilities he had gathered. Gallery Fake in particular, which has yet to be revealed, does play a pretty important role in the rest of this fight. Hisoka does say something interesting about control here, or at least its importance to a battle. As long as you can fight comfortably, a battle is a dance. We must move to each other's beat. The thing about this is if Chrollo is fighting too comfortable and he's the one leading the dance, Hisoka has to dance to his beat, and that's clearly what Chrollo is trying to do here. He started the battle playing into deception and then claimed he'd just start fighting while, in his own words, playing with his hand face up. There is a clear person in control of this fight so far, and it isn't Hisoka. We start the next chapter with a Chrollo monologue about how abilities have strengths and weaknesses, and you can compensate for those weaknesses in a number of ways. The abilities Chrollo has gathered here are to compensate for each other's weaknesses as much as possible. Chrollo mentions here and reaffirms this later how he waits until the conditions for a sure victory are filled before engaging in a fight. This could be used as more evidence he wouldn't have beaten Hisoka in a different setting, but I don't think so. Only wanting to engage in a fight where you are 100% sure you will win does not mean that he can't win, but it does confirm Hisoka would have a better chance against Chrollo in another setting. However, it could be that Chrollo is only 90 or even 65% likely to win in those other scenarios. Hisoka claims his greatest pleasure is in watching such people's plans fail, and then we get back to the ability explaining. Order Stamp, Proof of Humanity. This ability covers the weakness of Shalnark's Black Voice. While Black Voice manipulates humans, Order Stamp manipulates puppets. The cell phone can override people's autonomy, but only 2 people at a time. The stamp can manipulate many people, but it can't give complex commands. Hisoka correctly guesses the puppets and humans can't be controlled at the same time, and Chrollo pulls out the method for making puppets: Gallery Fake, Divine Left Hand, Demonic Right Hand. Chrollo explains that to him, a corpse and a puppet are similar inanimate objects, but the former owner of Order Stamp doesn't see it that way. So while a corpse can't be controlled, its copy can. For the last owner of Order Stamp, the difference between a puppet and one that ceased to be alive is whether the head is connected to the torso. So severing the head makes the puppet stop and the stamp disappear. But the puppet does not appear for 2 reasons, one of which will be revealed later and has to do with Chrollo's last hidden ability. The first way, however, is simple, and that's to deactivate Gallery Fake. Chrollo's third and final hidden ability now gets revealed: Convert Hands Transfer Student. A touch with the right hand and the target takes Chrollo's form. A touch with the left hand and Chrollo takes the form of the target. Touch with both and they instantly switch forms. Only the appearance changes, the persona does not switch. The one that's real will always be easy to figure out because Chrollo will have arrows on his palms. Chrollo says Gallery Fake and Convert Hands can create human copies, but you need a manipulating ability to control them. The abilities are similar, but they both have distinct roles, all to defeat Hisoka. This is the last comment made by Chrollo that adds to the conversation about if he could defeat Hisoka or not out of this current situation. But this one, while it's different from the last one, just sort of complements it. We already know these abilities are tailored to beat Hisoka here. Chrollo has crafted a way he thinks he can beat Hisoka 100% of the time. This is all for the ability lecture, except for one crucial piece of information Chrollo considers the most important. That being, one of the abilities he explained is an ability that remains in the book even after death. Hearing this makes Hisoka think of Nin that gets stronger after death, and he locks in, understanding that the mark of the one who explodes cannot be removed until the bomb goes off, and Hisoka thinks this is getting extremely troublesome. Chrollo affirms that he is 100% sure that he will win, and with the ability demonstration over, begins to launch his actual plan, utilizing all 5 stolen abilities to take down Hisoka. Chrollo begins backing into the stands, bookmarking Black Voice, while Hisoka chases, charging Bungee Gum. Chrollo starts to distract Hisoka with members of the crowd. Hisoka starts to put together Chrollo's game plan. First, bookmark Black Voice, activate Convert Hands, transform into someone else, move the bookmark to Convert Hands, close the book, and lie in wait. A plan he considers troublesome. Starting chapter 353, Chrollo has made copies of the crowd using Gallery Fake and used Order Stamp to command them to break Hisoka, about 30 in total. Hisoka tries to retreat to the ceiling, only to find the puppets chasing him there as well. Chrollo shows up behind Hisoka, who is defending against the puppets, and hits him in the back of the head with a kick, after Hisoka fell for yet another feint he had set up, this time using a left hook. To Hisoka's credit though, he doesn't understand how Chrollo was able to modify his attack angle while in midair, so it's likely he didn't consider a feint like that possible. Hisoka falls to the ground and gets swarmed by puppets that he starts dealing with by going for their head while figuring out Chrollo's game plan. He's waiting for moments that he can guarantee a hit, and we see even though Chrollo successfully lands a hit here, Hisoka knew that it was going to happen, showing he did figure out the plan correctly, so the next time Chrollo comes in for a hit, Hisoka retracts Bungee Gum to stop his attack. Chrollo avoids and lands a hit anyway, saying he was watching Hisoka, but Hisoka successfully lands his first hit of the fight, saying "I know," as if he was counting on Chrollo seeing through what he was doing. We start the next chapter with Hisoka landing another hit, this time on Chrollo's torso, which causes him to bleed. Puppets start rushing Hisoka, but he starts batting them away with a severed head covered in Bungee Gum, while Chrollo retreats into the crowd again. Hisoka successfully fends off all the puppets that are after him, all with the exception of one, under the assumption that as long as this one exists and the stamp remains, Chrollo's actions will be limited. His next best move, according to Hisoka, is 1. Keep the stamp activated and give a new command to the waiting puppets, or 2. Deactivate the stamp and make more copy puppets with Gallery Fake, and then A. Activate the stamp and issue new commands, or B. Change his appearance with Convert Hands with his left hand. Hisoka views both options as just as likely as one another for varying reasons, making it a coin flip for what Chrollo's next move will be, but it looks like option 2 as the stamp disappears and the puppet drops. Hisoka deduces if Chrollo is to make more copies, he's probably going to do it where he already has copies on standby. That way he can produce more copies and stamp the previous puppets. Hisoka finds Chrollo and a chase scene begins, while Chrollo is hiding his right hand in his left pocket and his left hand beneath his sleeve. Based on all the options Chrollo has, Hisoka decides it's best if he keeps his distance, and under the assumption that his counterattack screwed up Chrollo's plans, throws an attack without holding back, then shrinks gum from previous audience members, sending them flying into Chrollo. He discards a head he no longer needs and attaches Bungee Gum to Chrollo's leg, then hitting him with a lethal back shot. But it turns out this Chrollo was just a fake. Using Convert Hands, he made a copy of himself and manipulated him, which confuses Hisoka because one of the abilities requires 2 hands. Then he realizes the danger that Chrollo warned him about isn't that a mark placed on Hisoka would be permanent, it's that a marked puppet won't vanish. That means even if Gallery Fake is not activated, the puppet still remains. Moving into chapter 355, Hisoka starts to understand Chrollo's explanations weren't lies, he just added assumptions to the abilities Chrollo didn't say. So instead of the plan being activate Gallery Fake, bookmark it, create a crowd of copies, activate Order Stamp, and command the copies to break Hisoka, the plan is actually activate Gallery Fake, bookmark it, create a crowd of copies, activate Sun and Moon, and press the sun mark on the copies, deactivate either or both since a marked copy is protected by post-death intensified nin and won't vanish, activate Order Stamp, and then command them to break Hisoka. Hisoka thinks he may have overestimated the amount of puppets, considering there were more steps than he realized, and says maybe there were only 20 or 30, but he thinks Chrollo can make more at a pace of 1 every couple seconds. And with a time limit of 10 minutes until the paramedics come in, knows Chrollo will attack soon and that he plans to explode the puppets, meaning he can't let them get close to him. Chrollo runs over to the announcer's booth, grabs her mic, and gives the command to break Hisoka to all his marked puppets at once. Hisoka begins to beat all of them away, and he greatly underestimated the amount of puppets that Chrollo had made, as the announcer says hundreds were rushing to attack Hisoka. Meanwhile, Chrollo is using Black Voice cell phone to command a puppet, telling him to squat, and when Hisoka draws a head close to his hand, Chrollo orders it to explode, blowing off Hisoka's hand. Chrollo kept track of a body from way earlier and made it into a max power bomb while he was acting as if he was just damaged from being hit. With his hand gone, Hisoka admits it's pretty bad since the gum he kept on the ceiling for insurance is now gone. Hisoka notices the battle is now in the 11th hour and starts using his legs for bungee gum now that his left hand can't make precise nin manipulations. He runs on the walls, destroying puppets from above. Chrollo orders his puppets to go to the second floor, and when they find Hisoka, to self-destruct right next to him. This self-destruction takes off Hisoka's right leg this time. When he tries to use his left leg, Chrollo throws a puppet at him to make him stop. Then he tries again, so Chrollo throws another puppet at him. Hisoka is sent flying into the exploding puppets, and they all explode next to him. In the next chapter, we find out Hisoka did die here, but using nin that gets stronger after death and bungee gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, he was able to pump his heart and come back to life. Chrollo does get the win here, but Hisoka is at least self-aware. He admits fighting someone of Chrollo's caliber makes it difficult to win, especially while being under the opponent's ideal conditions.